Hey there, library friends. I'm Evy Nordley's youngest of three sons, Danny. I know my mom would be humbled that there is such an award in her honor, but would soon pivot to applauding your passion to help libraries contribute to the essential fabric of your communities, and then ask how she could help you do more. She was not a rest on your laurels type of person, While I was growing up, I watched her produce community theater productions, start an inner city drop-in center, initiate the den mother role for the Guthrie Theater, which helped find homes, schools, and whatnot for the rotating company. She was quite literally a force of nature. All was possible, and dang it, you better try. The year after I graduated from Golden Valley High School in 1974, my folks moved up to Scandia, Minnesota. As you can imagine, Evy was probably antsy as heck to find some kind of project and people to organize. Down the road was the Marine on the St. Croix and its little library. I'm sure they didn't know what hit them, as Evy had a vision of what it could become, as well as what all libraries could become if they could harness the volunteer power of its community. In 1978, she and Marie Gross founded MALF with about 40 members. 10 years later, in 1988, there was more than 200, and its 10th annual conference, they awarded her with a special award for her work, the litany of which included founder, executive director, board president, producer of 9 MALF conferences, 24 workshops, its newsletter, its publicity material. She was the grant writer and the administrator. In about 1980, Evy started the mother of all MALF projects, the Minnesota Chautauqua, in which she got a grant from the Minnesota Humanities Commission to curate a selection of about 8 adult and entertainment education programs that libraries across the state could book for their communities as fundraising projects. In the background, you can see piles of press clippings she collected about Chautauqua shows that MALF members brought to their communities. By this time, she was also vice president of the Minnesota Library Foundation and a board member of Friends of the Library USA. By 1988, she was also battling breast cancer, which would take her away from us in 1997 at the much too early age of 72. My family is tremendously honored that you created this award and continue my mom's legacy and use the community commons of libraries to build a better world. And now, let's hear from this year's 3 finalist groups from Babbitt, Cook, and Northfield. I hope that listening to their profiles leaves you all energized and inspired to do great things in your community. Stick around to the end, and we'll have the honor of announcing our winners. All right, first up, we have a first-time Evy Nordley contender, Friends of the Babbitt Library. Nestled at the eastern edge of the Iron Range, the small town of Babbitt usually doesn't qualify as a mecca for commerce or the arts. The exception is a special weekend each June when the Friends of the Babbitt Library hosts its annual Up North Craft and Vendor Extravaganza. On Saturday, June 3, nearly 24 handicraft vendors accepted an invite extended by the Friends to sell their wares at the Babbitt Municipal Gym. One of the organizers, Kathleen Graber, is here to tell us about it.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Graber with the Friends of the Babbitt Public Library, and we are honored to have been selected as one of the Evy Nordley Award finalists for our Up North Craft and Vendor Extravaganza. Before I delve into the event itself, I'd like to set the stage with a little background. Some may ask why we called it the Up North Craft and Vendor Extravaganza. So I wanted to show you on a map where you can find Babbitt, Minnesota. Babbitt is a small community up north with a population of about 1,400. Babbitt is part of the Iron Range. The size of these older generation mining trucks is hard to get a feel for from this photo, but they are huge. Our municipal center is in the background, houses the library, along with the city government offices, police station, the municipal gym, a fitness center, a teen center, and a senior center. The sign in the foreground is proudly displayed on a chunk of taconite mined in our area. And here is our wonderful Babbitt Public Library. We are one of 27 public libraries in 7 counties that are part of the Arrowhead Library System. We have 1 librarian and 2 staff members who are always exceptionally friendly and helpful. And the library is very welcoming, with a colorful children's area and plenty of spots to relax and enjoy a book, a game, and even a STEM kit. The Babbitt Public Library was established in 1957. Our Friends organization was incorporated in 1998, and we currently have about 80 members. And now to describe our project. The Friends organized and hosted the Up North Craft and Vendor Extravaganza 2 years in a row just prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. With the pandemic finally easing, we felt there would be pent-up demand for an event like this and decided it was time to bring back this popular fundraiser in 2023. We knew from the outset that our objectives for Up North were 1, to host an enticing and fun event for crafters and vendors, as well as our community and surrounding area. And 2, to raise funds to support the Babbitt Public Library. One of the beauties of being in a small town is a community spirit that drives and supports events such as this. We also believe that all positive advertising about Friends events helps promote our organization as well as our small but mighty library. With many new Friends board members since the last Up North event, our librarian played a key role with her leadership and by providing her institutional knowledge from past events. Friends board members were also key drivers in developing and carrying out the project. In planning this multifaceted event, we anticipated raising funds in a variety of ways, including a small table for charge vendors, items the Friends would sell, and a raffle of donated crafts or other wares from the vendors. With recommendations from the librarian, we knew we needed to start by selecting a date for the event. As in the past, the board agreed it would be beneficial to hold the event the same day as the annual Babbitt citywide garage sale. Plenty of residents and folks from out of town are out and about for this sale and would be likely to come to our event. The next critical task was to identify and secure the location for the event. We were pleased to obtain agreement from the City of Babbitt for no-cost rental of the municipal gym and kitchen space, and agreement from the Babbitt Seniors Organization for no-cost use of their meeting space where people could sit and eat lunch. We also needed to ensure we had a variety of crafters and vendors to make the event successful and to reach them before they committed to other craft fairs. We created an email distribution list of potential vendors, and an initial email was sent out early in the year to let vendors know about Up North. We refined our distribution list as time went on for continued communication. We advertised widely and also dropped off vendors' wanted cards and picked up vendor business cards at other similar events. It was very exciting once registrations started to come in. Board members then decided on items the Friends would have for sale. Board members approved the purchase of a hot dog roller to be able to sell hot dog combo lunches, which turned out to be popular, and we've already used the equipment for a second event. An area grocery, Zups, generously agreed to provide us low-cost hot dogs and buns, which helped our budget and allowed us to shop at an area business. We also decided to sell snacks and beverages, and these purchases were made in bulk to keep costs down. We discussed cost versus profit for all the food, snacks, and beverages we offered for sale, and we seemed to find a good price point since we did well on sales while making a net profit for the library. Friends members are always willing to donate to a bake sale, which provided another profitable element of the event. Used books and DVDs and Friends book bags were also on hand for sale. This event was publicized in a variety of ways. The librarian reached out through her Arrowhead Library System contacts to distribute posters announcing the event and recruiting vendors. These posters were displayed throughout the ALS area. She also posted regular announcements and reminders on the Babbitt Public Library's very active Facebook page, the new Babbitt Weekly newspaper, the Ely Echo newspaper, and the Embarrassed Minnesota Flying Fin newsletter. The Friends sent emails to our membership list, and posters were displayed around town. Also, Coca-Cola donated 2 free extra-large banners we used to advertise the event. In the days leading up to the event, we had to be very well organized. Friends members set up tables the night before. We had about 20 vendors, and on the day of, they showed up early to get set up. We checked in with everyone to make sure they found their spots. We also asked vendors if they'd be willing to donate an item for the raffle. The event itself was a blast. The weather was hot and sunny, which is great for people getting out and about. And also for people appreciating coming inside to our nice, cool municipal building to shop and grab something to eat or drink. With about 20 items donated for the raffle, this was a very popular element of Up North. The raffle winners for each item were drawn near the end of the event, and all were thrilled with their unique and creative items. We greatly appreciate the many vendors who donated, which helped maximize our net profits for the event. We evaluated the Up North event by considering what kind of feedback we received from the public in person or on Facebook, what kind of feedback we received from the vendors in person or in response to an email survey we conducted, and the amount of funds raised. In response to our survey, vendors provided comments such as, "This was my first time ever participating in an arts and crafts show, and I felt you guys made it very easy to participate. It was very well organized and very caring people. And even I made a new friend." The Friends Board also discussed and recorded our own insights into how we could make the event even better next time. All of this input will be of value in planning, organizing, and hosting future Up North or similar events. The total gross revenue for Up North was $1,100. The Friends contributed approximately $500 toward project implementation, with larger purchases including a hot dog roller with expectation to use at future events and food and beverages to sell. Thus, our net profit was approximately $600. We expect this to be one of our most profitable fundraisers for the year, with our used book and DVD sales our top fundraiser over recent years. We also want to acknowledge the many wonderful supporters who provided donations, special deals on purchases, in-kind contributions, and many volunteer hours to make this event a success. Positive impacts include sales and new customers for vendors, happy shoppers, and thrilled raffle winners, and additional funding for the Friends to use to support the Babbitt Public Library. We also have new Friends members, and we've spread the word about how wonderful our Friends group is and how amazing our Babbitt Library is. We'd like to thank the Minnesota Association of Library Friends for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Okay, our second finalist group this year also hails from the Arrowhead region of the state. Cook is a town of 500 situated halfway between Duluth and the Canadian border. Traditional wisdom would hold that a town this small and isolated should have a difficult time pulling off a silent auction. As most know, those fundraisers ordinarily rely on the largesse of the local business community and cooks is quite modest in size. Several years ago, 3 friends of the library started exploring a workaround. Is here to tell us about the group's popular and sustainable holiday basket fundraiser.
Hi, I'm Christy Saposi, President of Friends of the Cook Public Library. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our project. In response to the 2-year hiatus due to the COVID pandemic, we named our annual fundraising event the Welcome Back to Our Holiday Basket Fundraiser Raffle, with the thought that it would bring some patrons and community members back to our library. This fundraiser begins in mid-November and runs through mid-December and consists of a large number of handmade baskets filled with theme-related items displayed on tables and bookshelves throughout our library. The beautiful baskets greet anyone who enters our library and transforms it into a festive and welcoming environment. Guests can win a basket with a raffle ticket or a silent auction bid. To top off our basket fundraiser, a volunteer appreciation tea is held on the final day of bidding. Our library benefits from summertime seasonal visitors to our community and lakes. Once their cabins close, we enter our quiet season with our local patrons and people from neighboring communities. Our intention with this event is to draw people to our library and to make the library event open, available, and welcoming to all. In order to do this, we rely on volunteers and generosity. In 2018, the basket idea was born to 3 members of our friends group. They thought that we could raise some money with a silent auction and a raffle. This idea has been enthusiastically adopted. What began with 3 people has grown to over a dozen volunteers who create and donate baskets, plus their own time, to make this one of our most successful fundraisers of the year. Preparations began early in the year as items are collected from estate sales and stored in Linda's garage. In early November, everyone gathers at Linda's to organize baskets using the items collected. These baskets, along with other baskets donated by Friends of the Library members, and this year even a local business, are brought to the library the day before the fundraiser begins. Volunteers prep the library by moving furniture, setting up tables, and finally setting up baskets, along with silent auction bidding sheets and decorative boxes to collect our raffle tickets. A gambling permit is purchased 1 month prior to our event and requires City of Cook's approval. Everything we do is designed to increase Friends of Library resources that support our library's physical needs and our librarians' wonderful programs and events. We also desire to increase the visibility, visits, and patronage of the Cook Library, especially during our quiet winter months. Some examples of our financial support of the library include supplies for summer reading time, winter reading, teen programs, and events. We purchase a movie license for the library. We have a March mystery event. We have escape rooms, and we pay for performance fees. Friends of the Library's monetary contribution for this basket fundraiser is the $30 for the gambling permit so that we can have our raffle. We didn't spend any more for this event. Our publicity consists of press releases, social media, and small town word of mouth. In-kind donations factor heavily into this event and include volunteers' times to collect, store, and create baskets, to prepare the library, to contact the winners, and to distribute the winning baskets. We choose to keep our silent auction minimum bids low, and our raffle tickets sell for $1. This year, the total raffle items were valued at $695, and the value of our silent auction items were $907. The 2022 Welcome Back to Our Holiday Basket fundraiser netted $1,167 in profit, earmarked for our library's needs. This event drew 525 visitors to our library over the course of its duration. People who were thrilled to have the event return and who basked in the holiday spirit that it created in our library. This year, a nasty blizzard hit us and closed the library on the last day of bidding. The biggest effect of the blizzard was that it postponed our volunteer appreciation tea by 1 week, which typically brings in around 50 people. You know, those people, the ones who wait for the final day of the silent auction to raise their bid. Ugh. So needless to say, we plan to have a chat with Mother Nature this year. We're also adding a few extra days to our gambling permit to make sure that we're covered in case of another blizzard this year. In conclusion, I'd like to thank the Cook Public Library volunteers and patrons and the Minnesota Association of Library Friends for awarding our small library this grant. Thank you.
All right, last but not least, let's hear from Northfield. Early literacy learning is bedrock to the mission of public libraries. Granted, teaching children to read is a tall order, and no library is in a position to go it alone. Fortunately, staff have natural allies in this pursuit, including parents, teachers, and tutors. Daycare providers also rank high on this list, as the Friends of the Foundation of the Northfield Public Library can attest. Where this last partner is concerned, library staff recently reported a troubling disconnect. In-home daycare providers have a clear need for the books and services that Northfield Public Library offers, yet find themselves unable to patronize the library with any regularity. We're going to hear about the problem and the solution from the Friends Board Chair, Susan Dean, and Youth Librarian, Emily Lloyd.
I'm Susan Dean. I am the former chairperson for the Friends and Foundation of the Northfield Public Library. I was the chair at the time this program started, so I'm going to introduce the person who works with it the most. Emily Lloyd is our Children's Services librarian, and I'll let her tell you more.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. I am the Youth Services Librarian at Northfield Public Library. Our project is called the Traveling Early Literacy Library, or TEL. So this is how this program came about. When I first arrived at Northfield in 2017, we had a grant to go into in-home daycares, present a story time, present an early literacy workshop to the in-home daycare providers that they would get professional continuing education credit for. It was so popular, the visits, the ability to get story time in your in-home daycare once a month, and folks wanted it to continue. We realized that even with the grant, it was not going to be sustainable for the library. We just didn't have the capacity to make it happen. So I was trying to think, what could we do? How do we provide service to this group of people? How do we get that kind of early literacy training going on in these in-home daycares or early literacy story times without visiting monthly, which we simply couldn't do. So we wanted to find a way to serve providers' needs. And pretty soon we realized what those needs were. We realized what we needed to overcome. So what are the barriers to in-home daycare providers for accessing library services? Number one is getting to the library. Very few daycare providers have travel licenses to get in a vehicle and go with the kids in their care to story time or to go check out books, any of those sorts of things. We have a daycare across the street and they walk down and come to story time, but getting to the library is really challenging. We wanted to bring the library to providers while not being able to bring story time or the bookmobile. What else could we do? Time is a big barrier. Time, not just to get to the library, after your busy day of caring the kids, but time to choose great books that are really going to work well for teaching early literacy skills. Also worry that kids will lose or destroy books. This is a challenge when you've got a lot of kids in your care. Happily, we did waive fines, start waiving fines back in 2022, I believe. But with that many kids in your care and that many books, it could mount up. If a book gets ripped, if a book gets lost, that's a reason some folks maybe don't want a library book in their home. There's so many other things to keep track of. We wanted to ease their minds about that and provide this more seamless service. Okay, what if we tried no contact home delivery? We did not have to knock on doors and interrupt their busy days with their kids or interrupt the kids' attention. No contact delivery. Communicating by text was very, very key, as opposed to trying to reach someone on the phone or things like that. It was very easy to just text and say, hey, we're going to put out these kits on this morning, or hey, can you have your kit out on your doorstep by 8 a.m. for our volunteer to come pick it up? The books in the Traveling Early Literacy Library belong to their own collection, and that's funded by the Friends. There's no barcode on them. There's no need to check them out. We don't require the daycare providers enrolled to have a library card. We simply want to get great books into the hands of these providers and into the lives of these kids. So there's the books that belong to that dedicated collection. We, the Friends, absorb the cost of any lost or destroyed books. Out of a year and a half of service, we've had one ripped page. That's it. So back to origin, came up with this idea of the Traveling Early Literacy Library, and I applied for a $3,000 grant from a local organization, which we thought we had a good chance of, but it didn't come through. So I was really, really grateful for the opportunity to go and present this project to the Friends who decided to fund the Traveling Early Literacy Library. We identified some daycare providers to start with. Some were cold texted, some were word of mouth, people that had talked to me about the difficulty of accessing library services as a provider. It was really important to me that these books be great. I want to set people up for story time success. I wanted to have a great balance in these kits of books. There are 10 books per kit, so that everyone was a joy to receive and a joy to read, and the kids would find something in every single book. This is called the Traveling Early Literacy Library and not just traveling boxes of books, because the books in each kit are selected to be ones that emphasize different early literacy skills. In story time, we use an early literacy based model called Every Child Ready to Read. And while we are presenting story time, we're not just interacting with kids, we're also modeling for parents and caregivers. We're giving early literacy tips about how to read at home, doing things like that. So when providers can't come to story time, it doesn't just mean that the kids miss story time, it means that the providers miss story time as well. The balance of books in these kits include at least one nonfiction book, a book that you can sing. Singing stretches out the sounds and words so kids can hear that they're made up of different parts. A book that fosters social emotional learning, because post-COVID, I heard from a lot of pre-K and kindergarten teachers that those skills were really, really needed. So I thought we would put that in there too. And 1 to 3 early literacy tips for each book. I've got a book here, my favorite favorite storytime book of all time, called Eat Pete. And I'll show you what I mean about the early literacy tips. We put a few on the front page. When I'm reading books in story time, I have a collection of my favorite books, But I will put little post-it notes on them so that I remember when I read them in story time. Hey, I want to emphasize this. Oh, I want to make sure to do this. This way the kids will get the most out of the book. So by the end of the year, we had 5 in-home daycare providers who have shared 60 different books with the 57 children in their care. Like many other libraries, we participate in something called 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, which operates on the principle that, well, on the knowledge that the more books that you read to a child, the more different vocabulary words they'll hear, the more variety of experience, the more ready they'll be to read. So getting this variety out to kids was important to us.
And these are some of the examples of the books that are in the kits at
Yes.
the bottom of the screen here.
Yes, okay. This is feedback that we received from the participants. We love the variety and change of books. The variety has been incredible. Out of 60 books, we had only read 1 before. We're loving this so much. 100% of participants chose to continue service in 2023, and 100% said they would recommend TEL to a provider friend.
And I wanted to point out too that most of these comments were not solicited. These were things that we've heard people speaking at when they would be talking to somebody else, and these were overheard. And it's pretty incredible hearing somebody talk about your program and not knowing that you're hearing them say it. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. What's next? We're going to build an English-Spanish kit, 1 to start, with bilingual books and tips to launch in 2024. A new cohort of providers starting service in September 2023.
Just a couple of weeks.
Just a couple of weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's not mentioned here. This program is designed to be replicable. We have talked, and I've actually talked to another library in the state already about sharing our title lists, sharing our tips, so that people don't have to reinvent the wheel if they want to bring this service to daycare providers in their area. And if they can, because that's the thing, the friends made this possible for us. So if they have some sort of access like this, we are absolutely willing to share what we've learned and what we've designed.
And since it's already proved successful, they probably could get a grant to cover it.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, there is no copyright on this program. It
No.
can be shared at will, no cost to anyone to just call up Emily and say, hey, give me some help.
Yeah.
So we're very happy to do that too. As the friends, we support the library in as many ways as we can.
Thanks again to Kathleen, Kathy, Susan, and Emily for sharing their stories. Now the moment of truth. Second place and a $500 prize goes to Friends of the Cook Public Library. Congratulations! Here's a fun fact about your runner-up. This is not the first Evy Nordley showing. This small but mighty group was also a finalist back in 2021 for Cook's impressive community read program, structured around the Agatha Christie's classic mystery, Death on the Nile. You can visit the Evy Nordley page on MALF's website for a long recap on that and other stellar projects from years past. Profiles go all the way back to 2012. Okay, and our winner and the recipient of $1,000 in a custom plaque is Friends of the Babbitt Library. Congratulations! Yay! MALF's award committee awarded high marks to every aspect of the Up North craft and vendor extravaganza, with particular praise reserved for the organizers' coalition building skills, cost consciousness, and robust promotions. You can read more about the design, execution, and evaluation of these projects on MALF's website and blog. Hey, thanks again to the Friends and Foundation of the Northfield Library, who will also be receiving a monetary prize from MALF in the next week or so. And all of our presenters today also get a personalized copy of Ellen Eskin's newest book, Saving Emma. All right, before I sign off, allow me to plant a seed early. Applications for the next cycle of the Evy Nordley Prize will open in January. Projects implemented anytime between January 2023 will be eligible for consideration, and MALF would very much like to hear about them. Again, I really appreciate your work, and I'm sure Evy would just be loving every second of what you're doing. And thank you for honoring in such a way. Bye-bye.